Hello and welcome to another episode of the Pakistan Experience. थोड़ा जाहिल फील हो रहा है मुझे कि मैं फुलब्राइट ने मुझे एक घटिया से कॉलेज भेज दिया था because दो आईवी लीग्स हमारे साथ आज आए हुए हैं. एक फुलब्राइटर हैं, दूसरे बहुत ज्यादा अमीर हैं तो उन्होंने पैसे दिए इसलिए सिंगल लड़कियां मत ताड़ें इनको, शादी हो चुकी है इनकी, बाप बनने वाले हैं. माय टू फ्रेंड्स Abdul, Ayub and Hashim, Kaleem. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, Shazad?
I'm good यार. मैंने तुम लोग को अभी इतनी मैंने स्पीच दी कि this is going to be a casual conversation पे दोनों वेट करें, दोनों में से कौन बोलेगा पहले.
मुझे लगा उसका नाम दिया गया, so we'll start first.
Courtesy होनी चाहिए.
So both of you have what, MPhils? What masters in education
It's
policy?
called
What's the degree?
EDM. Harvard MEd नहीं बोलता, EDM in international education policy.
It's like a master's in education.
Yeah.
So why is our education system so fucked, guys?
कहाँ से शुरू करें? पहले वैसे ये भी तो डिस्क्राइब कर लें कि किस तरह से खराब है थोड़ा सा.
अच्छा चलो न्यूज़ से चलते हैं because अभी recently I had also commented on something I posted and maybe मेरा थोड़ा knee-jerk reaction था, but I saw the picture of the Private Schools Association who did a protest कि 15 जून से हमें schools खोलने हैं. And my knee-jerk reaction was to assume that all these schools are like Beacon House, City School, बड़े-बड़े जो ये इदारे हैं, and fees भी मिल रही है. तो why would they want to put the lives of children at risk just for their business? So I had sort of had a dissenting note on that, so we'll just maybe jump from there.
तो नहीं, basically ये था just to summarize it कि पाकिस्तान में Pakistan in the region is one of the countries where private education plays a huge role, and private education sector maybe just don't have the beacon houses and the city schools and elite schools that we're familiar with, but actually a lot of low income schools जिनकी 300 रुपए से लेके 1500 रुपए तक या 2-3 हज़ार रुपए महीना ये लोग चार्ज करते हैं, and so they don't make a lot of money. But I'll as the conversation goes on, I'll describe in more detail कि ये कितने important हैं हमारे education system के लिए. So these schools are at risk of shutting down. 2-3 महीने 4 महीने लॉकडाउन रहेगा, बंद रहेंगे तो फीस कोई नहीं देगा, और वैसे ही अगर जिस स्कूल को महीने के 25,000-30,000 रुपए बचते हैं, उन्होंने टीचर्स को पे करना है, रेंट देना है, तो they just won't be able to afford it, and that means that tens of thousands of schools are currently at risk of shutting down, and hundreds of thousands of teachers are at risk of losing their jobs in the near future, not to mention the students who are going to these schools वो अब कहाँ जाएंगे. Public school system का तो इतना हाल बुरा है कि so it's going to be a disaster for education in Pakistan. तो इसमें कुछ, I mean the solution obviously can't be कि अभी फौरन कल से ही स्कूल सारे खोल दो. We have to think of other ways, but bail out करें private school को किसी तरह से, मुझे नहीं पता हो भी सकता है कि नहीं.
I mean, they have to be treated like small, medium enterprises, right? If this government is stepping for them, that's what they are, right?
I think there was something like where government did announce like some kind of relief package for private schools as well, but I think उसके अंदर apply करता था कि what level of earning and income they're making. And I remember like Shazad, the last time I had this conversation, we had a chat. उसमें भी मैंने बात की थी about the crucial role that small scale private schools play in Pakistan. तो मुझे आहत के साथ याद आ रहा है कि we did this project together, particularly क्योंकि आहत ने TCF के साथ और he had that experience where they were taking over government schools, and his observation and his experience, correct me if I'm wrong, Ahad, the conclusion was that they were doing a significantly better job than
amazing. I can just tell from my experience. So I taught at a public school in Karachi for a couple of years through Teach for Pakistan. तो ये हिजरत कॉलोनी में था, और वहाँ पर मैंने 2 साल पढ़ाया. There were about 150 students in that school, and when we went out and did a survey in that, it's an urban slum basically, and when we did a survey in that area, there were 5 to 6 low-income private schools, 500 रुपए महीने की फीस है, and in the second year, basically some of those students from these low-income private schools shifted to the school I was teaching at, the public school. तो बहुत फ़र्क था, ज़मीन आसमान का फ़र्क था कि वो मेरे, just to give an example, half of my third graders couldn't read a sentence in Urdu, और जब ये आए थे low income private schools थे, so they were at grade level, उनको मतलब reading full sentences, answering questions, and there were just I think leagues above the public school students. तो काफ़ी quality में फ़र्क है. The interesting thing is कि जिस स्कूल में मैं पढ़ा रहा था, and that's the average for generally public schools in Pakistan, teachers की तनख्वाह 40,000 50,000 on average होती है. They could go up to public schools में 100,000 plus as well, लाख से ऊपर भी जाती हैं salaries. और जो लो इनकम प्राइवेट स्कूल जहाँ से बच्चे आ रहे थे वहाँ पर 4,000 रुपए 5,000 रुपए, तो 10 गुना का फर्क है. I'm not even exaggerating. 10 गुना का फर्क है. और क्वालिटी का आउटपुट देखो जरा कि कितना.
I'll tell you one thing just to kind of go back to what Shahzad said at the beginning कि वो schools क्यों निकले हुए हैं, because अभी तक I don't think the parents are really like paying the school fee. अगर आप इन्हीं private association जो forum है इसके ऊपर check करो, there are lots of parents who are just simply refusing to pay. And because I work in like a bunch of private schools, I know for a fact कि in पिछले 2-3 months में fee recovery hasn't been above 70% or 75%. Even in areas where students' results and certificates were tied to ensuring that they paid the school fee, right? Because those schools withhold kar sakte hain aapka
call
CIE
me out
certificate.
on my elitism if this is elitist, but my understanding from these forums, especially the private school association Facebook वगैरह का है, इधर तो mostly ये city beacon like as LGS ये crowd है. The crowd that Aad may be talking about, the 500 rupees mahina wali, those are not the parents in these groups.
Even by the way, but I guess like I think this problem of parents not paying fee that applies to both like levels really. उस वाले scale में भी वो नहीं लोग parents
But
इतनी
तर्स कम
readily.
आता है ना हाशिम, like LGS में तर्स कम आता है ना कि ठीक है 70% दे you should still survive.
स्कूल पे तर्स नहीं आना चाहिए. चलो अगर बहुत ही बड़ी चेन है, बट Beacon House भी I heard, I'm not sure, correct me if I'm Hashim, you would know better, उन्होंने 20-25% तो अपनी टीचर को फारग कर दिया के स्टाफ को. I mean this is what I heard.
No, that's not true. I mean, of course, like I'm not at the level where I don't have access to data whether this has
Hashim,
happened.
you are director at Beacon House. आप जवाब दें हमें. आप आज हम ये 2 डब्बा वर्जन कर रहे हैं. आज हम टीवी जवाब दें आप.
I have heard this about a bunch of other schools, but I don't think a Beacon House में इस तरह हुआ है. कुछ इस तरह बात थी कि teachers might get like reduced salaries, but yeah, वो तो I guess as a teacher and of course like people who are working in the education sector, वो तो बंदा expect करता ही है यार. Like this is a global trend, people are losing their jobs, so कुछ ना कुछ impact तो उसका उसके ऊपर आना है.
But let's say कि schools locked down for another 6 months and ये तो मुझे पता है because I know in certain private schools in Karachi there was a survey done and this was like 20 days ago approximately. और उसमें ये आया था कि 80% of parents said that they under the current circumstances they're not going to send their kids to school in August or September. But let's say कि नहीं बेचते और में से और fees 70% की जगह 50% हो जाती है, 40% हो जाती है for 6-8 months, there will be layoffs. So इसके repercussions होंगे.
I mean,
no, absolutely.
That's जी हाशिम.
No, I mean, I agree with him. I think iske repercussions, it's not even something that's going to happen in the next couple of months. Already teachers are apprehensive. Already like school leaders are also thinking about what's the next month going to be like. So be more tangible or real. Yeah.
But देखो अगर आप, again, if you're somebody who's sending your kid to LGS, if you're somebody who's sending your kid to KGS, Beacon to a large extent, City to a large extent, ठीक है, जून जुलाई में आप इस तरह की टोपियां करा लो, समझ में आता है. August, if your child has to go to school, even if it's not a physical school, it's online school, and their enrollment is in question, they're gonna pay the fee.
That's the case with, I guess, a significant majority. I won't say a significant majority, but I think a majority of the parents do think about things like this. But I've also like come across ideas that, which I mean, I think that they do hold some merit, where parents are considering that why not consider this year as a gap year in which we can focus on, like things that they can be taught which are beyond the school curricula, right? Like their social learning.
Not necessarily.
Just like getting time with your family, like learning about other values that schools are, I guess, not offering in its entirety at this point. But I'm personally still kind of like skeptical of this idea as well.
Hashim, what's the percentage? Like if you had to 10%, matlab exaggerate
just basing it off Facebook forums, so many people. Like I can't give you a percentage, but this is like a big number. But of course, not every one of them are on Facebook I guess like up, yeah, agar aap 5% bhi laga lo, I'm just saying that this idea is out there. I'm not talking about the scale at which it's there, but people are kind of like beginning to think about in that direction. But my point is that I'm still skeptical of it, because I think these things are easier said than done, right? Because in order for kids to be homeschooled as well, in order for them to develop this self-direction wali learning methodology, I think that requires a lot of training, and that requires getting accustomed to a certain kind of environment as well. और बच्चों की नहीं हुई. We teachers struggle to kind of shift to the digital medium. We only got like a month or so I can only imagine the challenges that students must be facing.
I think आहद और मैं जिन स्कूलों में थोड़ा काम कर चुके हैं उनका तो वैसे ही थोड़ा बहुत स्टाफ और फैकल्टी तो वैसे ही एट रिस्क है आई थिंक.
नहीं, मैं मजाक नहीं कर रहा हूँ कि यहाँ पर जो स्पेशली कंसीडरिंग द एज, द एवरेज एज ऑफ टीचर्स इन योर प्राइमरी एंड सेकेंडरी स्कूल्स, ईमेल भी करना सीख लिया.
वही तो आई मीन लाइक उनका तो समझ ही नहीं आता. तो वो जूम बेचारे, आई हैव नो आइडिया कि कैसे कर रहे हैं. एंड नॉट दैट दे आर नॉट केपेबल. द रीजन बिकॉज आहद एंड आई हैव बोथ एक्सपीरियंसेस, देयर इज रेजिस्टेंस. अब तो मजबूरी है, बट जस्ट डिजिटल एजुकेशन का नाम सुन के ही देयर जस्ट लाइक नहीं, हमारी तो नौकरी चली जाएगी, ये तो अब खत्म, हम एट रिस्क हैं, हम इसको आने ही नहीं देंगे, ये कंप्यूटर जलात है, बिद्दत है, इसको जला दो.
और वो भी है ना कि इस्तेमाल करना आता भी है कि नहीं है. इट वाज जस्ट सो मच मोर कन्वीनियंट फॉर देम टू कम्युनिकेट via printing out documents and sending it across. मतलब वो प्रिंट आपको इतने 10-10 15-15 पेजेस प्रिंट आउट होके जा रहे होते थे कि दूसरे पढ़ ले. ईमेल नहीं करनी, प्रिंट आउट होके जाएगा और फिर नोटिस कोई पढ़ेगा. सो दैट्स द
पर्टिकुलर डॉक्यूमेंट
डिजिटली पढ़ाओ.
एक स्कूल में और रात काम कर रहे थे, एक पर्टिकुलर डॉक्यूमेंट कुछ नहीं तो उसके कम से कम 10,000 प्रिंट हुए हैं. So वो till 1.1 of the teacher was like गटर में डालो इसको. 10,000 एक ही डॉक्यूमेंट के प्रिंट पड़े हुए सबके पास.
No, but Ahad, I know like तुम in particular like tech in education पे काम कर रहे हो, and I know that the school that we are talking about, you were involved in some kind of professional development of the teachers as well. मतलब कि I think personally, if I have to think from the teacher's perspective as well, I'm unsure about how many professional development opportunities they've been provided with to kind of get used to the new system as well. And I think within schools as well, this is very interesting because schools may do age groups and teachers, okay, ones who are kind of like really old and who have been in this profession for so long. And then there are really like young folks who just wanted to, I mean, either it was a stepping stone for them, they couldn't find another job. And then there's some who really wanted to teach as well. So I say within schools, like faculty, it was at the disparity si aane lag gayi hai. And I was also thinking about what kind of impact it has on the self-esteem and on the just like motivation levels of the older staff as well. Because I think younger
it's a real challenge. It is a real challenge, and this was part of my job description. Basically, I had to transform the school in terms of digital learning and also professional development. तो आसान नहीं होता यार. अगर आप if you be digital natives, हम बोल रहे हैं, मैं भी अपने अम्मी अब्बू के साथ बैठ जाऊँ, उनको सिखाऊं कि कैसे Zoom log in करना है, then obviously उनको भी time लगेगा. So if you are of a certain age and if you're used to, you know, teaching a certain way, teaching, just transforming your approach to teaching and learning is a huge undertaking. So definitely उसमें professional development काफी invest करना होगा, and it's not, you know, something that's going to happen overnight. Consistently 2-3 साल 4 साल आप उसको करते रहो. And the thing you mentioned के like there's a mix of teachers, right? There's some teachers who are fresh grads, younger, और बाकी बड़े हैं, तो वो भी एक तरीके से उसको भी आप इस्तेमाल कर सकते हो कि the older teachers learn from the younger ones digital tools को कैसे करना है. So वो naturally हो जाएगा, थोड़ा सा time लगेगा. And you know, it's completely understandable. You can't expect people to just
बच्चे भी तो assholes हैं ना. अब बच्चों को सब Zoom समझ में आता है, वो टीचर बेचारी को नहीं समझ में आ रहा. वो सब अपना नाम बफरिंग कर दें, अब वो टीचर बैठे कि यार ये हो क्या रहा है.
अभी तो क्या नहीं किया होगा. तो मैं वैसे we used Zoom a lot for our work as well. और बीच में जैसी पैंडेमिक हिट हुआ है तो Zoom changed the security settings. और न्यूज़ यही आ रही थी कि बच्चों ने बस टीचर्स को छोड़ा नहीं है कहीं से. वो किसी और अकाउंट से लॉगिन करके बस पढ़ाने नहीं देना. They just had the time of their
life. There was also a movement to give Zoom 1 star on Play Store ताकि उसकी रेटिंग कम हो जाए.
From the Chinese students, कि ये बिल्कुल उसमें
forced to remove it. But
Yeah,
what's
and even at LUMS as well. I don't know, you guys are part of, I'm sure you guys are on the forum. LUMS में भी काफी ये scene हो रहा था कि there are people like just changing names or giving access to their friends who just come and do like nasty stuff in classes
I
or
think
Define nasty.
Lums Daily Forum से मुझे निकाल दिया था किसी वजह से, मुझे भी नहीं पता क्या वजह थी,
एक तो तुम्हें बस
बट कुछ ना
stirring
कुछ.
content.
आई एम सरप्राइज कि मैं लम्स के लॉ अलमनाई ग्रुप में अब तक हूँ. मैं तो जिस तरह की बातें करता हूँ मुझे हर जगह से निकाल दिया जाता है.
हमारे साथ क्या
So
किया हाशिम बच्चों ने?
sorry.
यार मेरे बच्चे मतलब they're quite tame, बड़ा मतलब मैं कुछ कह रहा था कि प्लीज कुछ कर लो, you know, I had like, you know, like मेरा भी थोड़ा है a little on the extra side, you know it. So मैं कह रहा होता हूँ यार प्लीज कुछ तो शरारत करो, like I'm the one who is trying to, you know, get things going, but वो बेचारे काफी I guess बोर हो गए होते हैं. Teachers को I guess especially in university I guess teachers think कि वो जो lecture पढ़ा रहे हैं it's really important, like students are really into it and all, and you know when you've been on both sides of the table आपको पता होता है यार कि in most cases you're just waiting for the lecture to end और जाके कोई वो दोस्त के साथ सुट्टा लगाया या कुछ इस तरह. So वो थोड़ी सी I guess वो difference and balance होता है.
At least the lecture format is slightly easier to do over Zoom, right? जो lecture देते हैं वो आए उस lecture दें और घर जाएं. I know थोड़ी शायद गालियां पड़े कि आप तीन बाबे बैठ के ये डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, but I do want your opinion on this. There is also this huge movement, चलें Zoom वाला तो joke था, but कि online education खत्म करें. It's not good, it's not healthy, you should end it. And a lot of students have messaged me कि please support us, we want to end online education and it's unfair on us. And I'm a little torn on that, so I just want your opinions. कि what's your
ये
take on
कौन से
that?
बच्चे हैं? कॉलेज लेवल हैं, छोटे बच्चे हैं? I mean, it's education is such a huge field. You can't, you know, वो
बता दो तुम क्या, if you feel like कि एक level पे होना
कॉलेज
चाहिए और एक level पे नहीं होना चाहिए
नहीं,
तो
कॉलेज पे तो इट मेक सेंस राइट कि कॉलेज लेवल पे हाशिम को भी पता चल रहा होगा कि वो एक कैंपस का एक अलग ही वो एनवायरनमेंट होता है. एंड आई मीन दैट अप्लाइज टू अदर लेवल्स एज वेल, अगर आप प्राइमरी सेकेंडरी की भी बात कर लें. बट आई मीन इन द करंट सिचुएशन व्हाट्स द ऑल्टरनेटिव राइट कि आपने ये तो डिजिटली ही करना होगा. अभी अगर आप खोल नहीं सकते सो यू हैव टू डू इट. लॉन्गर रन आई ऑनेस्टली फील कि दिस इज, you know, an area that is just has enormous amounts of untapped potential. If you use technology effectively and integrate it into the school systems, तो आपके हर level पे higher education से लेके, you know, to the primary level, you can just transform education completely. तो technology होनी चाहिए, yes, but you should know how to use it effectively. और सो दैट्स द मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टेंट पार्ट कि जब तक इस्तेमाल सही करनी नहीं आएगी. अभी तो यही हो रहा है ना कि बस हाँ जूम पे ऑन जिस तरह से क्लास लेक्चर था वो ऑनलाइन लेक्चर कर दिया है. बट देयर आर लॉट ऑफ वेज टू जस्ट यूज टूल्स मोर इफेक्टिवली देन वी आर करंटली डूइंग.
ऐसे नहीं लग रहा आहत कोई गुंटानामो बे में फंसा हुआ है, उसको कोई टॉर्चर कर रहा था अभी बीच.
हाँ मैं एडजस्ट कर रहा हूँ, मेरी बैक प्रॉब्लम से थोड़ी सी
आज
बुढ़े हो
ऊपर
गए.
एक लाइट भी हिल रही है, आधा फेस लेट है सिर्फ.
ये मैंने पीछे एक बैक सपोर्ट रखा था ना, उसको एडजस्ट कर रहा हूँ.
Yeah,
Hashim.
Shehzad, that's an interesting question. Uska, I'm quite surprised. I saw it as well कि वो कह रहे हैं online education खत्म करो. मुझे जो parallel मेरे mind में आ रहा था, I compare it to like, I mean, parents denying or resisting vaccine as well, right? Like, I think there is evidence that this is the future. In fact, it's not even like it's what's the present is as well. I think the only level, the grade, where perhaps like people should be, you know, careful about whether exposure to online education is necessary is perhaps like preschoolers or pre-nursery or nursery or kindergarten, right? I think that's where आप चलो ठीक है, there is possibility कि आपको एक बड़ा obvious सा drawback नजर आता है excessive online exposure से, लेकिन बाकी हर level पे तो this is the future. Even in the last talk as well, we talked about the fact that these ideas aren't new. I mean, we already know about blended learning, we already know about flipped classrooms. बड़ी देर से countries which are ahead of us, they already have put that into practice. तो पाकिस्तान में लोग बस change resist कर रहे हैं बहुत ज़्यादा, जो कि नहीं करनी चाहिए. Or of course, like Ahad, like he said, I think even this COVID experience as well has kind of like highlighted the tremendous potential that we have and all the opportunities that we hadn't explored before. Agar ye na hua, to perhaps we would have moved this quickly in like 10 years time or something. Yeah. The learning curve has been very steep for the schools as well. But I think, I mean, this moment itself, and I don't want to like, you know, make a big statement, but this is how I really look at it. I think हम एक बिल्कुल paradigm shift से गुजर रहे हैं education में, और उसकी एक बहुत heavy transformation हो रही है. And the sooner people get used to it, COVID or no COVID, the better it is going to be for them. And that is going to be in my eyes, like the primary distinction between the haves and the have-nots, or as a result of which people become cans and can-nots as well, you know. So आप जितनी जल्दी इसे accept करो उतना बेहतर है.
I agree. I think we आदर मेरा थोड़ा एक्सपीरियंस भी है इन टर्म्स ऑफ वर्किंग विद दैट, और हमारे एक दोस्त जो हैं प्रोड्यूसर ऑफ द पॉडकास्ट नबान, उन्होंने लास्ट ईयर बिल्कुल प्लान बनाया था अपने इंस्टीट्यूशन को कि यार हम एक साल में ये करेंगे. एंड देन कोविड हैपेंड एंड द एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन कॉल्ड हिम एंड सेड ये जो आप 2021 में कर रहे थे आप मंडे को कर सकते हैं. इज लाइक भाई ये हमारा साल का इम्प्लीमेंटेशन, लाइक ये मंडे से करते हैं मंडे से इसको सिस्टम को ऑन कर दें. तो वो रश तो हो गया जो होना था, जो पूरी दुनिया मूव टुवर्ड्स कर ही रही थी उसकी. बट वी आर आल्सो स्लाइटली, आदि वांट से समथिंग.
बस मैं हाशिम की एक ही चीज़ से एग्री विद कंप्लीटली विद एवरीथिंग ही सेड, बट एक चीज़ है, बिकॉज दिस इज माय फील्ड, आई एम वर्किंग in primary and pre-primary education, specifically in EdTech. Globally, हम deployments कर रहे हैं, and it's just the potential there is huge. जो हाशिम, what you're talking about, I completely agree कि KGS में, Beacon House में, वहाँ ना उठा के टैबलेट्स दे देंगे, घर में भी 4 घंटे बच्चे ने बैठ के YouTube ही देखना है उस पर और गेम्स खेलनी है. But again, if you talk about 90% of the Pakistani population, they don't have access to digital technology at home. And this is where I want to loop in another concept that's very important, and that's I think relevant today, is the digital divide, right? कि जिनके पास access नहीं है, अब जैसे ये podcast record हो रही है, YouTube पे जाएगी, who is this accessible to? Only a certain number of people in Pakistan, because of devices. जिसके पास स्मार्टफोन है ही नहीं वो तो देख ही नहीं सकता ना, वो तो छोड़ ही दो. जिसके पास स्मार्टफोन है उसके पास बैंडविड्थ है कि नहीं है कि 3 घंटे का वो 6-8 GB यूट्यूब पे लगा दे. और फिर उसके बाद, even if they have the bandwidth, do they have the knowledge of how to use the internet effectively or not? So that's a huge divide that's becoming more and more clear these days कि अगर सारी learning online shift हो गई है.
इसको और छोटा कर दो, if they like शहजाद or not, फिर तो बिल्कुल ही ऑडियंस 15 लोग रह जाते हैं जो सुनते हैं पॉडकास्ट.
मगर वही चीज़ें देखो, अब अगेन चलो अब थोड़ा बहुत ये हो रहा है कि मीडियम्स लाइक टिकटॉक, दे आर really good, but again, is it really educational? What educational content are your general public aware of apart from WhatsApp forwards? तो ये इस चीज़ को बचपन से ही अगर हम देखें कि promote करें smartphones को, technology को at the pre-primary level, and this is the aim, right? That you want to create learners in the future that are on the path towards lifelong self-learning. और आप वो ज़िंदगी में अगर आपने सीखना है कुछ, अपनी खुद पढ़ाई करनी है डिजिटल के बगैर, तो नहीं हो सकती ना. कि अब तो ज़माना ये है कि you want to be digitally literate, you need digital literacy skills in order to be able to continue the learning path. और learning की बात नहीं, और भी 100 चीज़ें अगर आपने survive करना है, e-banking है, शॉप, जो कुछ करना है, दुनिया ही, emails, social media, everything is digital, right? So जिनके पास, again, students of ours जो हम slums में, rural areas में जिनको educate करते हैं, teaching them how to operate a smartphone or a tablet from an early age and making sure they become digital natives is important. And again, there needs to be a balance कि 2 घंटे कर दें, दिन में घंटा कर दें. ये नहीं कि घर पे ही बैठ के पूरा दिन 6 घंटे applications use हो रही हैं और स्कूल में भी फिर वही हो रहा है. So that's bad for a lot of reasons too.
Shazad, if I mean, like, bilkul exactly the digital divide that you talked about, I just want to go back to this one point, because this is something that I do think about quite a lot. We talked about it briefly the last time as well. Okay, जो ये digital divide है, how serious it is going to be in the next couple of years, because जो within population, जो हमारी target population है जिनको education की service delivery करते हैं हम, not me, but like the government people who are responsible for it, उसके अंदर इतने ज़्यादा divides आने वाले हैं. People who simply don't have access to any kind of screen, people who don't have access to electricity, people who don't have access to Wi-Fi. Then within those as well, who do have access to some kind of like screen and Wi-Fi as well, how many screens does the household have as well? That's another question, because I like Beacon House and cities and some other schools also not target like the top income households, but a class below that. And even there, like, parents have problems ke bhai, हमने 2 लैपटॉप्स तो प्रोवाइड कर दी हैं, तीसरे के लिए तीसरा क्या खरीदें, एंड देन लाइक इसका है। तो आई गेस अल्टीमेटली थोड़ी एक ओवरआर्चिंग से जो मैं सिचुएशन देखता हूँ कि गवर्नमेंट्स को नॉट जस्ट पाकिस्तान बट डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज की गवर्नमेंट्स को जनरली द राइट टू इंफॉर्मेशन इसको ज़्यादा सीरियसली लेना पड़ेगा, because it's just seen as like one of the trendier things that just like a certain segment of your society does. But I guess like people who would benefit the most are the ones who are at the bottom of the heap, and that's why this idea of like right to information is I guess it should be like more seriously constitutionally enshrined. Or Ahad, again, once again, I think that's your field again. So I know
आहद को
that
तो
you've been
नौकरी पक्की है, इसके बाद आहद को 6-7 ऑफर आने वाली है नौकरियों के इस पॉडकास्ट के।
already
यही तो
बहुत offer आए होंगे. He doesn't have the time for it.
दोनों पैग्स जो थे उस प्रोटेस्ट के, वो आप दोनों ने वो दोनों पैग्स उठा के फेंक दिए। एक कि भाई जो भी कर लो फ्यूचर डिजिटल ही है, होगा यही, सो नो पॉइंट रेजिस्टिंग टू दैट। बी इफ दे आर सेइंग डिफर कर दो, गैप ईयर एज अ पॉलिसी कर दो, so that would just mean universities and schools and everything would shut down. अगर एक साल जीरो फीस मिली उनको तो वो सब बंद ही हो जाएंगे।
नहीं, they won't shut down.
दोनों लेवल्स पे this resistance to online education is fruitless.
अच्छा, हाँ, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, लेकिन I guess
अगर कोई सॉरी हाशिम, अगर कोई स्टूडेंट सुन रहा है ना, वो फिर गालियां देगा कि तीनों तो पढ़ते नहीं है, जिनका एक्चुअल लिव्ड एक्सपीरियंस है, they don't have a voice in this discussion.
Guys, I mean absolutely. Thank you, Shazad, that you brought this point as well, because I know for a fact that बच्चों के जो issues हैं, the kind of issues that they have with fee, the kind of issues that they have with like fee hikes and all, I think they're very legitimate.
I do a separate podcast with them. I will.
Yeah. वो सेपरेट इशू है. लेकिन यार दूसरा मतलब एक और इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट जो मुझे ऐसे लग रहा है कि इस पॉडकास्ट में ऑफ कोर्स वी हैव रियली ग्लोरिफाइड, rightfully so, like the idea of online education, how important it is, but as a teacher it also kind of like I think it does bother me a little कि हम schools की जो the physical importance of like the importance of like a physical space, उसको हम थोड़ा we are just putting it in the background, because if we are talking about people who are the least served, the most underserved, I think particularly for them the concept of school as a physical space is a lot more important for compared to someone who has that kind of environment at home, because अक्सर बच्चों के लिए स्कूल एक सिर्फ पढ़ने की जगह नहीं होती. It's their 8 hours where they're treated hopefully as kids and not people who are going to bring in money. And often in many cases, this is again what I've learned from some of the readings, is that in many cases schools are the spaces which protect students, kids from violence as well. And this is not just Pakistan. This is the story of like every low-income country where kids are really kind of deprived of their right to childhood. So schools what yeah.
ये तो we're actually seeing this, up close. School for the low-income, students from low-income communities is very important for the social emotional learning as well. Currently, we're doing projects in Africa and Bangladesh and Pakistan, and har jagah ye jaise it's the same story, right? If you're living in a household जहाँ पर domestic violence के issues हैं, जहाँ पर और मसाइल हैं, so going to school, to a physical space, is actually an escape from your day-to-day reality. And Rohingya camps का एक वो incident हमारा एक पहले के students actually used to line up to school, right? वो आधा घंटा पौना घंटा पहले आ जाएंगे, खड़े हो जाएंगे, just to be able to escape their 8 by 8 के उनके वो वहाँ पर घर हैं. और imagine के कराची में भी कितने यहाँ पर आपके इस तरह के घर होंगे. So वो physical space, there's no doubt that's very important. And जब we're talking about tech, so it's tech, using tech in that physical space, not necessarily the way we're using it right now during the pandemic. But जब schools normally resume हो जाएं, तो आप tech को schools में किस तरह से integrate कर सकते हो. But you can't take the physical space away from any environment, right? University, college ले लो, just that space has so much value.
Yeah, which is also why all this अब ये थोड़ी एक्सट्रीम शायद मे बी
बच्चे भी इसी तरह से इसलिए बोल रहे होंगे.
बट ये जो घरों में अपार्टमेंट्स में भर भर के स्कूल बनाए हुए हैं, they're not super conducive to learning, right? Places like Habib or AKU or Lums University, all the architecture itself contributes to your learning. All this being said, we three still do agree, right? कि जब तक unless कोई magical cure या vaccine है, the idea of physical schools for the time being is untenable. Yes, we agree, right?
I don't know actually, right? So it's again, I don't know. So
I
again, I can't see schools opening
agree
right
with
now,
that.
but I can't see schools remaining shut. जिस तरह से अभी हमने शुरू में बात की थी कि अगर schools बंद रह गए अगले 6-8 महीने, let's say COVID extends, second wave आती है, this is going to be catastrophic, right? So I'm thinking maybe like some schools, some universities, some companies have policies. अच्छा बच्चे आएंगे, but हफ्ते में 2 दिन आएंगे, right? And बाकी 4 दिन नहीं आएंगे. Rotation policy होगी, कुछ ना कुछ होगा. Because what's the alternative, especially in a position such a country like Pakistan, अगर आप बेल आउट नहीं करते, स्पेशली अगर आपके पास आपकी पॉपुलेशन के पास घर पे इफेक्टिव डिस्टेंस लर्निंग टूल्स नहीं है, आप घर बैठ के किस तरह से पढ़ाई को एजुकेशन करोगे, पढ़ाई को कंटिन्यू करोगे. सो आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि स्कूल्स खोल देने चाहिए, बट फॉर मी इट्स नॉट लाइक अ ब्लैक एंड वाइट कि हाँ जब तक कोविड खत्म नहीं होता तब तक स्कूल्स बंद ही रहें. There's so many practical considerations that policymakers, and again I don't know all of them, but सोचना पड़ेगा इसके बारे में थोड़े से और डेप्थ में कि क्या करना चाहिए, what's the appropriate response.
Ahad, I agree with you 100%. And I think that's to share Shehzad's surprise a little. I do also think यार इस तरह नहीं हो सकता कि schools बंद ही रहें हमेशा, because
हमेशा तो
ultimately
nobody saying.
by
मैं 2
हमेशा
साल
I
रह
mean
गया,
like think of
साल 2
like
साल.
like a year's time or something. I
कोविड तो
think
कहीं नहीं जा रहा,
हाँ
साल 2 साल तो कहीं नहीं जा रहा.
I was saying 2020. I think January तक तो I don't think it's happening.
I personally think that they might. I mean, of course, it's just wild guessing. I think they'll open before that. मेरे ख्याल से somewhere in October. I mean, this is like a very random guess. But uska, the reason why I say so is yaar ke whatever decision making that's happening right now is based on the existing body of knowledge we have about what COVID does, the extent of which it can harm us. And based on that, we have seen like countries with which have the capacity to enforce their SOPs more effectively. They are going back to schools, right? And like Ahad said, that there are different layers of it. Matlab Pakistan, I know for a fact that the conversation is around calling the senior students first. आपके जो A level, FSC के students हैं वो पहले आ जाएं early on, and then phaser like वो आप school की opening करो. And I think these ideas have to be explored because personally at this point could also be because I've had COVID and I've recovered and all, so it's not like that like
Hashim is
unknown.
not at risk. He's like मेरी तो antibodies हैं.
No, I definitely having antibodies
मैं तो
does not
जाऊंगा.
actually have the protection, but मेरे ख्याल से यार कि ultimately we'll have to learn to live with it. That's all I'm saying.
यार बट देखो एक तो मेरा कोई भरोसा नहीं है कि स्कूल्स एसओपीज और सब फॉलो करेंगे.
नहीं
बट
करेंगे,
लेट्स अज्यूम आपने कर लिया, आपने ये कर लिया कि भाई ग्राउंड में पढ़ेंगे, व्हाटएवर यू हैव डन, देन यू आल्सो हैव टू रियलाइज कि सब तो नहीं गाड़ी में आते हैं ना यार. अब kids are coming in buses, that's you're putting them up for risk over there.
शहजाद जिनकी तुम बात कर रहे हो, जिस एनवायरनमेंट्स में माए थे, आई डोंट नो इफ दैट्स गोना हैपन, बट वो पहले ही कोविड हो जाएगा, इम्यूनिटी डेवलप वहां पर. आई मीन इट्स if your
But I mean
parents are
that's
working,
not a
right?
policy solution, right? कि antibodies
If your
test करो,
parents are working,
antibodies हैं तो आओ. Sorry?
if your parents are working, right? I'm just assuming, right? कि अगर घर पे अगर बच्चों को बंद किया हुआ है आपने, पेरेंट्स घर बाहर जा रहे हैं, so they're bringing the virus home anyway, right? It doesn't make sense कि बाकी जगह आप हर चीज खोल दो और स्कूल्स को आपने बंद रखा हुआ है.
I get that
Especially
argument. I get that argument. कि if even the private schools association की जो protest थी, I get that argument कि जब सब खुला हुआ है
तो स्कूल्स किया क्या है
तो
यार.
हमारे particularly क्या point है?
थोड़ा सा इसके अंदर ना दो बातें हैं. मैं तब I hope I'm not contradicting what I just said before. एक बात important जो ये है कि जो idea ना immunity passports का, it was floated but now it has been quashed again because they have found no conclusive evidence कि जो presence of antibodies that's actually going to give you a protection, how long they're going to last for and all. So it's not कि just because you have antibodies you're safe.
Dr. Fauci says highly likely. Dr. Fauci says highly likely.
But I mean, we are listening to new news and that news being contradicted the very next day from the top organization. So there's so much happening, right? There's lots of influx information.
What's the
The
top
other point I want to
organization?
make is about like asymptomatic carriers not being infectious at all.
वो
And then
WHO ने वापस ले लिया.
Yeah, the next day.
Yeah.
The other point to consider is particularly schools, maybe because I've been a teacher for like 10 years now. I
Whoa.
started in 2010. This is just like a very, like interesting observation that I had. Like, why do I get flu more than my brothers do? And they also go to work as well. And and then I found out there was just like a basic Google search, like schools do tend to be places where you're more vulnerable to catching bacteria and viruses because of like the number of people who are there in the room, because of the conditions in which schools are. We know for a fact that in order for COVID to stop, it has to be airy, it has to be dry, it has to be sunlit. And if you look at the situation in Pakistan, that's not what the case is with most like low cost private schools. The point that फिर भी मुझे लगता है कि इतनी ज़्यादा देर के लिए स्कूल्स बंद शायद इसलिए ना रहे because whatever decision we are making, it's based on what we know about COVID at this point. And I am expecting that in the next couple of months, the speed at which we are making advancements in terms of getting new information about COVID or in terms of figuring out a solution, hopefully things will be different in the next 2 months.
If something changes, if we find out something else, if vaccine gets done, if to cure hai wo over the counter milna shuru ho jaye, that's different. Assuming none of this happens. But देखो, assuming अब तक कोई solution नहीं है, जिस तरह है उसी तरह चल रहा है. It is.
मैं चलो my perspective is देखो ना, अगर अब चलो let's look at some stats. पाकिस्तान में कोई 7 से 8 करोड़ बच्चे होंगे, उनमें से 2.5 करोड़ तो स्कूल जाता ही नहीं, वो तो बाहर बैठा हुआ है आपका. So Pakistan, by the way, has the second largest out of school population in the world after Nigeria. 10% of the out of school world population. बाकी आपका जो 2-2.5 करोड़ बच्चा है जो पब्लिक स्कूल जाता है, and then 40% of Pakistan school going population is low income private school. और टीचर्स कितने तो 1.5 करोड़ बच्चों की बात कर रहे हो, पता नहीं कितने लाख, 5-10 लाख टीचर्स, कितनी होंगी टीचर्स जो इन 1.5 करोड़ बच्चों को पढ़ाती हैं. And if there's no doubt about it, if you don't reopen schools and if you don't bail them out, which I don't think our government has the capacity to do right now, or कोई इसका practical scene नहीं है, there will be unemployment, school closures, and ये भी बच्चे जो आपके 1.5 करोड़ private schools जा रहे हैं, ये भी कुछ नहीं पढ़ रहे होंगे. So I'm just saying I don't have the answers. Again, I'm saying मुझे नहीं पता कि खोलने चाहिए कि नहीं खोलने चाहिए, but it's a very important point to consider, right? That this is really the backbone of your education system in Pakistan, unlike India or Bangladesh, जहाँ पर 90% 95% public schools हैं. So apart from learning loss in students, teachers and schools shutting down, इसके long term repercussions क्या हैं अगले 4, 5, 8 साल, that's a big consideration. तो उसको बस थोड़ा सा सोच समझ के करें कि जो भी करें, just don't let these schools shut down.
Shahzad,
that's a non-negotiable, right?
Like when I went for my master's in like
at
education
Harvard.
policy,
Harvard.
Yeah.
At
so
Harvard.
I wasn't too convinced whether I actually wanted to study education. I was like, okay, well, I was teaching before, so chalo ye kar lete hain. And then I guess at this point, even after having done my master's, I wasn't too convinced if this is the I wanted to work in. But only now, like Abake, I was listening to this other podcast by this representative from OECD, and she shared that this is not just like a problem in developing countries, it's a global problem, that education is one of the most ignored topics around the world. Just in comparison, health as a sector takes 17 times more budget at a global level compared to education. And it is also one of the least researched fields as well. So I think, again, like using this platform, because I know like you are top celebrity in Pakistan, so we are possibly reaching out to like a lot of people.
7 लोग सुनते हैं टोटल ये पॉडकास्ट. 7 लोग हैं हर पॉड, जिनमें से 2 आज गेस्ट हैं, बाकी बच गए 5.
वही सुनने हमारी है.
We'll share this network, so we'll reach out to more people.
I'll watch it like 10 times.
सारे students.
Yeah, so guys, like please, I guess it's a मतलब तरले हम करें कि I guess people, Pakistan in particular, needs to take education more seriously. अभी दोबारा हमारे साथ hand हुआ है, like we are वही जो education budget का जो हम expect भी कर रहे हैं. I think like मतलब बिल्कुल ही कोई सीन ही नहीं है पाकिस्तान का education की तरफ.
Hashim, I would strongly push back against that. कि जो budget की बात है, I think the budget is just overblown right now. Okay, education gets way more budget than it should. क्योंकि कोई सीन ही नहीं है. यार provincial budget अगर so basically federal में आपका तो उसको छोड़ दो, federal के पास तो है नहीं. So education is a devolved thing
But-
after the 18th Amendment.
But higher
So
education,
provinces-
higher education तो federal से आता है, right? HEC
but
नहीं
even-
आता।
मैं टोटल
Even-
एजुकेशन की बात कर रहा हूँ कि 9 billion dollars
Because
is the education
chairman
budget.
की अभी एक वीडियो आई थी where he was complaining.
So $9 billion is the education budget if you know put in all the provinces. और वो जो उन्होंने 80 अरब पता नहीं कितना फेडरल के, वो तो एक छोटा सा एक पोर्शन है इसका. And so provincial budget, this represents 25 to 30%. It's huge, and the problem I have with that is that it's ineffective.
Absolutely.
Basically ज़ाया कर रहे हो. और एजुकेशन का कोर मसला है ही पाकिस्तान में ये कि 9 अरब डॉलर हैं जो बजट है, उसमें से 80%, 82% और टीचर सैलरीज which are just used, you know, टीचर्स को सैलरी वो इसलिए देते हैं, it's a form of patronage. तो सिंध के अंदर, पंजाब के अंदर एवरेज, अभी जो मैंने शुरू में बात की थी, 50-50 हज़ार रुपए तनख्वाह मिल रही है. आउटकम देखो क्या है. बीगन हाउस की टीचर को पता नहीं, मुझे नहीं पता, बट 3-4 साल पहले तो 25,000 रुपए.
Beacon House in particular, जो हमें एग्जांपल चाहिए ना,
नहीं तारीफ कर रहा हूँ
Beacon
बीगन
House
हाउस
को
की.
दलील कर दो।
बीकन हाउस की तारीफ कर रहा हूँ. 25,000 रुपए, 30,000 रुपए बीकन हाउस की स्टार्टिंग सैलरी है. पब्लिक स्कूल्स में 50,000 रुपए ऑन एवरेज टीचर्स को मिलते हैं. Why? And 80% of your education budget is going to salaries. This is just, and ये increase हुआ है after the 18th amendment. पहले इतना बड़ा percentage नहीं थी. And so I'm completely against it कि अगर आपने education का budget और बढ़ाना है, वो यही होगा कि it's being used as, you know, patronage, and it will not really be used for institutional capacity building. और उसमें भी यही है कि केपी के स्टार्ट्स देख लो, सिंध के स्टार्ट्स देख लो, 15-20% of teachers आते ही नहीं हैं, घर पे बैठे में. So increasing the education budget is the worst possible thing that you can do. It's actually
current
defense and education
circumstances.
can be compared.
The current
Defense भी आपका
circumstances,
11 billion dollar है और education भी 9 billion dollar है.
but in the current
So,
circumstances, you're not arguing that education को पैसे नहीं देने चाहिए. You're saying ineffective.
नहीं देना चाहिए, नहीं देना
In the
चाहिए.
current circumstances, right?
So here's the thing, Ahad, I think like you do bring like good nuance to what exactly is happening in the budget. I'm also aware of the fact that even the
Ahad
money
just
that they
knows one government teacher जिसको लाख रुपए मिलते हैं और आहद को उससे नफरत है. Because
तो
उस टाइम
आहद
आहद
average
को आहद को लाख रुपए नहीं मिल रहे थे और इसने तब से ग्रज रखा हुआ है.
एवरेज तनख्वाह 60,000 रुपए है, 50.
आहद उसके साथ वाले स्कूल में पढ़ाता था और उसको 50,000 मिलते थे और वो गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में देखता था कि उसको लाख मिल रहे हैं. आहद तब से नफरत करता है.
यार देखो उसका ये कि बिल्कुल अभी जो उनके पास एग्जिस्टिंग बजट आता भी, I know that it's not fully utilized, even that as well. Some of it is like, what do we do with it, right? So I guess the problem that you identified, the way I understand, is like misallocation of resources within that budget that they get.
Yes.
Fine,
Yes,
82% of it shouldn't be going towards teachers like salaries and all. And Ahad is absolutely right. Like I went to this evaluation like trip around Pakistan. I visited like several government schools, and particularly in Sindh, the problem is really like intense because ghost schools exist on paper. Lots of ghost teachers exist where they're just getting salaries. Some of them are settled in the UK, some of them are settled in, you know, like Gulf countries, but still उनके यहाँ पे local account में उस वक्त 42,000 2017 में regularly जा रहा था.
मैं पिछले 3 साल से शिकारपुर में साइंस पढ़ा रहा हूँ यार.
So no, the government did introduce, like Shahbaz Sharif's government introduced this nationwide like biometric validation wali wo attendance wali policy, and there was a lot of resistance to that, like a lot of resistance to that. There were people who were still coming, just like clocking in and then clocking out at the time of, you know, when the school went off. So it's like a masle to hai, but I guess this is a bit like harsh to say that Pakistani system में education में और पैसे invest करने की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है, because
I'll give you more
other countries as well. We are below the recommended, you know.
We're not. We're actually not.
Yeah,
Wait, so basically education spending
let Hashim complete.
of यार मैं इसमें so basically अच्छा sorry हाँ.
No, please, it's okay. I actually want to like listen to what you're saying because maybe I'm.
मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ कि 4% is the recommended.
गोस्वामी का जो शो है ना, हर हमारे आए हैं.
4% is the recommended ratio for education spending compared to GDP, जो इंडिया बांग्लादेश में होती है. But you have to consider the fact कि पाकिस्तान में 2.7 है, which is less than 4%. But you have to consider the fact कि आपकी $8 billion are additionally spent by parents in the private education market. बाकी जगह से जहाँ पे आप compare कर रहे हो, you can't really, because वहाँ पर 95% पब्लिक स्कूल स्पेंडिंग हो रही है, या तो आप बोलो कि अच्छा ठीक है एजुकेशन बजट बढ़ाओ, क्वालिटी बढ़ाओ, प्राइवेट स्कूल्स की जगह आप सबको पब्लिक एजुकेशन दो, then I'm completely for it. Right now, if you
do that,
increase the education budget, that will only be wasted
but
because
Ahad, won't
your
that need money? Wouldn't we need money to do that?
No, you already have the money. You already, per student, you're spending more. Per student, you're spending more than low-cost private schools do. Per student, you're spending more than other countries. So you have to fix the current system within the current given resources. If you can do that, तो फिर आप और expand करो. अभी तो आप वो कर ही नहीं सकते, right? अभी you're spending per student, you're spending more than your.
I agree. I guess once again, ये जो तुमने point particularly highlight किया about this additional, expenditure that's happening on parents and privately, I guess that makes a lot of sense. But I would still be I would still kind of have an issue with the fact that in terms of government's priorities, it's not up there. And that is why we are facing this entire rift between private parents association and private schools as well. And उसके अंदर teachers बेचारे उसके अंदर यही बार बार आके उनको बोल रहे होते हैं कि why are you criticizing us? You are fair in saying that there needs to be a good quality public education system. And that is why you should go to the governments and ask them to pay attention to education. I think काम चल रहा है, but that doesn't mean कि काम सही चल रहा है. Just because we have this big chunk of money coming in from the parents' pocket doesn't mean the government is absolved of its responsibility to really kind of reprioritize कि education को किस तरह treat करना चाहिए. On top of that, I mean, of course, I'm quite critical of the current government, which is why I'm sure you're also aware कि अब वो थोड़ी सी इस तरह की भी बातें हो रही हैं कि 18th Amendment ko we want to revisit, and they also want to revisit the NFC as well. And they're also saying it in Sindh, surprisingly, which is one province which is bitterly opposed to the idea of it. So Pakistan में आप कुछ भी हो सकता है, and we know for a fact यार कि technicalities aside कितने पैसे कहाँ से आ रहे हैं. The one thing that we all three of us unanimously would agree upon is कि पाकिस्तान में education can definitely get more attention from all parties, the government, the people at large, the school owners as well. There's need to improve for sure.
So I guess it's not just throwing money at the problem, right? It's getting people.
So Hashim and I were just continuing our discussion when you got disconnected.
ऐसा कुछ नहीं हुआ, ये झूठ है मेरी ऑडियंस. ऐसे ये हार्वर्ड गैंग जो है ना, ये नॉन हार्वर्ड वालों को इस तरह ट्रीट करते हैं
ताकि शहजाद जोड़ सके दोनों वीडियोस. So that's why
ऐसा कभी नहीं होता. बिल्कुल कंटिन्यूअस पॉडकास्ट हो रही होती है. ऐसा कभी नहीं होता कि मेरा इंटरनेट खराब हो जाए.
I was really told कि मुझे ये कहना है कि all three of us unanimously agree on this one.
अगर हम एक्सपोज कर ही रहे हैं तो आहत से जूम नहीं चल रहा था. ये जो टेक एजुकेशन एक्सपर्ट है हार्वर्ड के. Yes, आहत कंटिन्यू.
तो नहीं, बस यही है कि एजुकेशन पर फोकस करना चाहिए. जो बजट की बात है, इट्स यूज दिस बजट दैट यू करंटली हैव इफेक्टिवली, एंड it's the fact of the matter right now is that $7 billion go to teachers' salaries, and those teachers, public school teachers, aren't held accountable at all. कोई उनको निकाल नहीं सकता, ठीक है, कोई उनको जाके कुछ बोल नहीं सकता. There is nothing that you can do about that, and that shows in the student learning outcomes. This is not just a small sample. ये पूरे मुल्क में जो एजुकेशन सर्वे हुआ है उसमें 5वीं जमात का बच्चा किसी भी ज़बान में grade 2 level text नहीं पढ़ सकता. 50% of 5th grade students. If you're getting these kind of outcomes, what the hell are you paying salaries out for? तो इसको ठीक करने के लिए there's a lot of great initiatives. पंजाब गवर्नमेंट शहबाज शरीफ ने आई थिंक ये किया था कि 10% जो पब्लिक स्कूल्स हैं उनको पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप्स के थ्रू दे दिए प्राइवेट स्कूल्स को कि आप मैनेज करें और आउटकम्स बेहतर हुए. खैबर पख्तूनख्वा में वाउचर स्कीम कर दी थी, which is an excellent intervention which happens worldwide, कि आप पेरेंट्स को वाउचर दे देते हो 2000 रुपए का, 2500 रुपए का भी, जो भी whatever basically the government spends on a particular child, and then it's the parents' choice to pick out private education that they know will lead to better student outcomes, and they can put pressure on the private schools, hold them accountable, and वो free market वहाँ पे थोड़ी सी operate हो जाती है. So that's, I mean, these are in the current circumstances with the current level of corruption, patronage, political, involvement in education. I think we need to look at these solutions and really look at what the private sector can offer us and put money there, right? अगर आपको public funding मिल रही है, 700 रुपए 600 रुपए ये गवर्नमेंट देती है प्राइवेट स्कूल्स को फी बच्चा फी महीना, and the government itself spends 2000 2500 rupees or something similar. So it's just more effective to function that way.
If I just want to add, I guess one other thing that I'm not sure if has been fully explored in Pakistan, and we came across some evidence in this other course that we took, which was specifically designed for ed policy interventions in developing countries. And we came across evidence that said that professional development, teacher training is not like, it's most effective when it is done prior to when an individual joins the profession. So like there's a stock of teachers, and then there are people who are you know who you're going to join, the profession. So professional development is most effective prior to when that individual joins the profession. In fact, after the first 3 years of a teacher's job in a school, their learning kind of becomes stagnant, right? So agar usi evidence ki agar hum further dekhen ki uske implications kya hain, then I guess another important question is like, what is the Pakistan setup like in terms of teaching licenses as well? What is the Pakistani setup like in terms of whether we are training individuals to become specifically teachers or not, right? So I think all these things are then also tied to the kind of and the quality of education that is imparted in schools as well. Or of course, teachers, Ahad has shared with us some very important figures.
बहुत सारे teacher colleges तो हैं, training, professional development is happening, but the fact of the matter is if a teacher knows कि मैं अगर बच्चे को मारूं, corporal punishment हो रही हो, वो वीडियो पे चीज़ कैप्चर हो जाए, उसके बावजूद मुझे कोई निकाल नहीं सकता, there is no accountability at all in the system. What do आप क्या expect करोगे?
कल मैं सिटी स्कूल के अलमनाई ग्रुप से निकाला गया हूँ जिस तरह मैंने आपको शुरू में बताया था कि मैं हर जगह निकाला जाता हूँ, निकाला नहीं गया यार, sort of like मैं खुद छोड़ दिया, बट देखो फड्डा हो गया था. कोई टीचर थे सिटी स्कूल के एक पर्टिकुलर, उनकी एक तस्वीर डाली हुई थी, and everybody was really reminiscing के he taught us so much, आज तक मेरा right cheek hurt करता है, मुझे वो आज तक याद है कि मुझे डंडे मार, and these are like they were in 6th 7th grade, और इतने कोई नॉस्टैल्जिक तरीके से they were like, oh my god, it was so good, मैंने सब कुछ जो सीखा है उस वजह से सीखा है, I've taken it forward. And I was like, okay, you can reminisce about your good memories without condoning child violence, literally child abuse. कि अगर वो तुम्हें डंडे मारता था, if he's old now, wish him well, wish him health, but you can talk about, okay, maybe child abuse was not the best way to instill discipline. And they were like, what is wrong with you, snowflake? And these are all like Hali Londa. They're like, yo, snowflakes is in the group. What do you wait for cereal, snowflakes? So मैंने group छोड़ दिया, like ये क्या बकवास है. तो
छोड़ दिया, तो मैं निकाला तो नहीं गया snowflake.
इतना तो जलील हुआ, उसके बाद मैंने बोला बेहतर ही है कि जहाँ इतना आप अनवांटेड हो.
snowflake, दोनों लोगों ने snowflake बोला और छोड़ के चले गए थे. snowflakes, cornflakes. तो फिर मैंने बोला ठीक है, मैं जान चाहिए. बट चाइल्ड अब्यूज फॉर अस इज लाइक गुड एजुकेशन. क्या हम मारा करें हम बच्चों को हमारे? हाँ, छितर मारो, थप्पड़ लगाओ, तब तक उसको सीधा नहीं होगा बच्चा.
या मैंने भी बहुत ज्यादा मारे खाई हैं, इतनी ज्यादा नहीं मारे खाई, मेरे क्लास फेलोज ने मेरे से बहुत ज्यादा मार खाई है. आई वाज लाइक one of the best disciplined kids in class, but काफी खाई हैं. And like I don't hate those teachers.
Hashim is anti snowflake culture वैसे.
I would just be like कि थोड़ा सा इसके अंदर मुझे once again I'll have to think about वो खुद मेरे teachers के system के products थे.
Yeah.
So what they were raised with, of course, in my teaching practice मैं इस चीज का कभी सोच भी नहीं सकता कि I'll ever do this to a kid. But at the same time, I guess like this is also slightly reductionist to just like disclaimer, I'm in no way justifying or giving an explanation for like corporal punishment in schools, but I guess it's slightly reductionist to just kind of be like, hey, those teachers were horrible because they hit us or something. They could have done better, but at the same time I think that they should also have been exposed to this idea कि इसकी वजह से बच्चे के ऊपर लॉन्ग टर्म क्या किस किस्म के consequences हो सकते हैं. Until unless we don't have the conversation, we can't like just give out judgments कि किसने सही किया किसने.
It's the uncriticality of looking back at it, right? आज एक बहुत अच्छा tweet किसी ने किया हुआ था कि just because something is understandable doesn't mean it's justifiable. You can have that conversation कि okay, there were 6 great things about this person, but the 7th thing was unacceptable. The problem is when you take all 7 to be the gospel, then you're like, this is the only way, so this is what I will do to my child. तो जब uncriticality of that thought आती है तो वो फिर cycle of abuse खत्म नहीं होता. क्यों मार रहे हो भाई? क्योंकि मेरे बाप ने मुझे मारा था तो मैं अपने बच्चों को मारूंगा. वो फिर आप you don't stop. That doesn't mean कि if your dad hit you, you hate that person and want to stab him. You could still want to stab him, but that's other issues. लेकिन you can also not hit your child and stop the cycle right there. Going back to the school of education, that was a very good point कि अच्छा हम primary education तो अच्छी खासी discuss कर दिए. HEC की ये भी gripe है कि जी universities का क्या scene है. Yes, you need a bottoms up approach and आपको अपनी primary education ठीक करने की ज़रूरत है. But maybe if you have institutions like the school of education where we can produce people like you, they can go back into the system. And अगर हमने ये निशानदेही कर दी है कि it's not just the amount of money, it's the misappropriation or the misallocation of funds. So maybe we need more people like the two of you in the government sector to actually fix things. तो अगर यूनिवर्सिटी लेवल पे लम्स टाइप पे स्कूल ऑफ एजुकेशन अच्छे बने तो ये हो सकता है ना.
A critical mass, right? कि इतना बड़ा सिस्टम है कि you need tens of thousands of people in the system to actually do meaningful change. And I think ये तो एक I strongly believe कि लम्स में जो लोग जाते हैं CSS करते हैं and actually enter the public system and you know try to bring about change, that's crucial. And you need more people doing that and strengthening public institutions. जब तक नहीं जाएंगे मैंने अभी जितने I've had limited interactions with the public sector पे जितना काम किया है वो यही होता है कि कोई अफसर है जो लम्स का ही पड़ा हुआ है 4-5 साल पहले, वही बेचारा सारे काम कर रहा होता है, वही और भी होंगे, बट इन माय एक्सपीरियंस दैट्स जस्ट ऑनेस्टली मैंने इस्लामाबाद में लाहौर में यही देखा है कि लम्स वाले जो काम कर रहे हैं वो बाकियों से वो रिस्पांस नहीं मिलता.
So you do need a critical mass, but Hashim just want to say something, but it's अगर कम लोग भी हों they can train other people, right? They can be like अच्छा यार ये system हमने बनाया है, ये अब 1000 schools में implement हो सकता है. So maybe Ahad doesn't need to be or Hashim doesn't need to be in every single school, but you can work on systems and stuff. Yes, Hashim.
A prototype of sorts for sure. Just like one thing, of course, Ahad seems like you had first-hand experience of looking at those bureaucrats, those civil servants, bringing about change in good work. But I'm also kind of struggling with this idea that is bureaucracy really the entity from which we can expect change to come about? I'm also kind of like struggling with the idea that do they kind of like reinforce the status quo, or are they the ones responsible for change? And I think that's where the role of universities, not just policy implementers or enforcers, but universities on their own should be again bada bola hai, lekin they're supposed to be the grounds for change, right? Like they're the ones who are generally expected to be more progressive than the society. They're not even supposed to be a mirror reflection of what the society is supposed to be like. Historically they've been ahead of it. Unfortunately in Pakistan that is not the case. Not that universities don't want to, but I mean, we all know what's going on. So the kind of pressure that universities and academic spaces face as well, that is immense. And I guess once again, we have to kind of course, numbers are important. So I'm all for evidence and what's happening in those formulas. But I think the larger like thematic questions इनको address करना भी बहुत ज़रूरी है कि क्या universities or educational spaces के पास उस किस्म की autonomy or agency है because of which they can actually bring about that kind of crucial change or even change the mindsets of graduates that they produce as well. And again, like just before our session started today, I read the news about, one of the very like prolific academics, this professor at FC, he has been fired, Amar Ali Jan.
Amar Ali Jan, friend of the podcast, Amar Ali Jan. Yeah. Even Parvez Hoodboy ka contract nahi renew hua.
Yeah. So I guess that's incredibly sad. Like without getting too political, like who's doing what, I guess like just the fact that a teacher आपको, even if that teacher has a dissenting opinion, that is really the quintessential experience of education, that especially a university education, the multiplicity of ideas, the diversity in ideas, right? तो अगर आप एक वही चीज मतलब लेके खत्म कर दोगे तो फिर criticality तो that's completely out of the equation.
And Amar Ali Jan has a PhD from Oxford.
Yeah.
और उसको FC कॉलेज ने बोला नहीं जी आप
He has it from Cambridge,
आपने नहीं पढ़ा हुआ इतना कि आप यहाँ पढ़ा सकें.
And I've experienced at first hand the kind of bond I've had conversations with the students, the kind of bond that he had with them. Some of them went on to say that his was the only course in which they actually learned something. We're not talking about the content of what was learned, but just the fact that this was the only course in which they felt कि हमें एक इंसान समझ के first of all treat किया गया, वो टीचर और स्टूडेंट के दरमियान जो hierarchical differences होते हैं उसे बिल्कुल निकाल के. And I think that's where students actually benefited the most. Some of them went on to say कि हमारे पूरी यूनिवर्सिटी का एक्सपीरियंस एक तरफ, and that one course that we took with him एक तरफ, that was much better. To think that these kind of academics and teachers are being removed from university spaces, I think it's a very alarming question.
इसीलिए तो निकाला, इसीलिए तो किया था कि वो बच्चे जाके सबको बोल रहे हैं कि बाकी एक यूनिवर्सिटी एक तरफ है और ये एक तरफ है, तो यही करना है, निकालो इसको.
हमने
Football's case as well, his salary was coming from a fund, a grant for a select like professor's chair. It wasn't like tied to university's budget at all. They removed him on the grounds कि हम overstuffing थी तो हम downsize कर रहे हैं, and we're trying to save our budget. So it's a big like question mark कि क्यों होता है. Yeah.
हमने आई थिंक काफ़ी लॉजिस्टिकल की तो बात कर ली है. अच्छा यार ये मसले हैं, ये चल रहा है. वी डोंट रियली टॉक अबाउट कि किस तरह की एजुकेशन. थोड़ा ग्राउंड अप पहले शुरू करते हैं. पहले खान साहब तो कहते हैं कि जी ये प्राइवेट पब्लिक ख़त्म करो फ़र्क. व्हाट्स योर टेक ऑन दैट?
Ideally, yes, करना होना चाहिए. Public school system आपकी that should be responsible to provide quality education to everyone in the country. Practically, no. कोई सीन जितना मेरा limited experience है in teaching at public schools, working with
तो कहता है पब्लिक खत्म करो.
Public खत्म करो. Actually, कि public money को private में, I would say in the current circumstances that's not ideal.
फैसलाबादी सीट आदमी है ना, प्राइवेटाइज करो एजुकेशन को.
प्राइवेट के भी अलग मसले हैं बिकॉज इनइक्विटी काफ़ी उससे बढ़ जाती है, राइट, कि whoever can afford it. But I mean public private partnerships, voucher schemes जहाँ पर you can make private education more equitable currently. I mean that's the, यार आप ऑनेस्टली सोचो अगर बच्चा 5वीं जमात पास कर रहा है, वो पढ़ नहीं सक रहा, ऐसी पब्लिक एजुकेशन का क्या फायदा? आधे बच्चे पढ़ नहीं सक रहे. I'm again repeating the same point.
टीचर को लाख रुपए मिल रहे हैं महीना,
वो पढ़ नहीं सक रहे. They can't read stories in any language. How is that, you know? बाकी तो आप जो पढ़ाने हैं उनको स्किल्स कौन सी डेवलप करनी है दूर की बात, एक बेसिक स्किल है कि आप पढ़ना लिखना सीख जाओ. वो नहीं हो रहा. तो I don't think the public education system is equipped right now. But in the long case, if it's possible to do it, then obviously the public system should be prioritized over private everywhere in the world. But in Pakistan, I don't think that's practical.
I think that was a very comprehensive answer. I mean, I guess like didn't take that thing seriously at all when Shafkat Mahmood was like, we are going to hum kar rahe hain, bas is cheez ko aage jaake curriculum bhi same hoga. And I was like, this is just them being populist and like bas appease karne ke liye logon ke andar ek wave wo instill karne ke liye. I didn't take it seriously, but then later on I realized that governments in Pakistan are capable of anything. If re-election is an incentive, if any one thing can kind of like, catalyze their rise to power, so they will go for it. And we did receive, like, for one of the private schools, did start having this conversation about what we need to do in case if government goes ahead with this plan, where O-level and A-level and IB system is completely wiped out. So I guess private schools, the good ones at least, are kind of preparing ahead. There is this possibility, but of course, yeah, that's going to be a tragedy. That's going to be like a major tragedy if they go ahead with it, because like Ahad has very appropriately pointed out, koi scene hi nahi hai yaar. it's ideal that there is no disparity between the public and private system. It's ideal that there's no private system to begin with, because education should be like an essential state service, everyone's right. But in the current circumstances, until and unless you don't bring your public education system up, you will really be messing up with the entire system.
तो अब इससे अब maybe now we're headed towards speculation area. अब ये मेरी theory है कि I think it's quite by design. So it's not just the shortcomings of the system, it is the system itself. The system benefits कि लोग जाहिल रहें. The system benefits कि जी critical thinking ना सीखें.
ये जो यहूदी बैठे थे ना हमारे साथ, बस वो हमें पढ़ने लिखने नहीं देंगे.
I think यहूदी अगर बैठ जाती ये मुल्क बेहतर होता. यहूदी बैठी नहीं, इसीलिए तो मुल्क खराब हो गया. I think वो अगर या तो यहूदी साजिश साथ ले जाती अपने वापस, तो भी मसले थोड़े खत्म हो जाते. No, but I mean,
you're right. From a systemic point of view, ये तो I mean it. अगर sociologically इसको देखें, तो you benefit, like certain classes benefit by, और हर जगह देख लो आप. It's not just Pakistan. It's all over the world. It's a fact in history कि अगर आप दबा के रखोगे certain segments of the population, then you can exercise your control over them. And the sad part is that overall, net everyone loses, right? Okay, you may succeed in subjugating certain populations and benefiting from that, but अब long term अगर आप देखो तो सबका ही नुकसान है उसमें.
Long term थोड़ी सोचना है यार, बस प्लॉटें हैं, short term plots हैं. Hashim, what's your take?
No, absolutely. I was just, I'm in complete agreement. Once again, Ahad, you're so like.
Disagree भी कर सकते हो Hashim आप.
ये
लगता है आहद के पास CV भेजना चाह रहा है. या तो आहद को CV भेजना चाह रहा है, या इसने को थेरेपी में बहुत अच्छा लेसन सीखा है कि the way to have a debate is I
when you were
offend नहीं करना चाहता ना Hashim किसी और को कि यार चलो यार ये बोल रहे थे इसकी बात को थोड़ा सा.
जब तुम अभी नहीं join किए हुए थे मीटिंग, तो शहजाद was like how is it going and all. I was like it's a shame कि मैं आहद को इतनी देर बाद इस situation में context में face to face बात कर रहा हूँ. But it also kind of, I think I was thinking about our discussions and generally before as well in our time together, so it feels like quite comfortable and at home and generally
बड़ा time गुजारा हमने साथ.
तो मैं क्यों ना agree करूँ.
Lumsu kids unite.
Lumsu and Harvard Zoo.
Yeah, बिल्कुल. हम इतने ज़्यादा lumps में we knew that okay there's this art and I don't know.
ये भाषण भी रहते थे.
Yeah, so but असल में हमारी bonding अमेरिका में हुई थी, because I think कि वहाँ पे हमें थोड़ा सा personally for me I kind of realized कि यार जो मेरी brown family है, मेरे brown friends हैं, they are so important for me because मुझे तो personally I'm quite comfortable with like the like Pakistanis के आपका humor समझते हैं और generally आप at ease रहते हो उनके साथ.
कि government जब जरा थोड़े मसले मसाइल में आ जाती है, they make bad decisions, so then वो religion का बड़ा सहारा लेते हैं for legitimacy. So there is also this new ruling by Punjab government के the study of Holy Quran has been made mandatory. तौबा क्यों कर रहे हैं आहद आप?
तौबा मैं इसलिए कर रहा हूँ कि ये बिल्कुल ही ये I don't know अगर ये impact, and again like Hashim said I wouldn't put it past them to actually implement this, but इसके जो concept
ये तो हो गया this was law.
नहीं अभी तो law है मगर actually
I think I had a different reading of the text. I think what they've said is that universities should offer it. I'm not sure if the policy is that students won't be able to graduate if they haven't done it. So
let me just look that up to confirm, but Ahad, you complete your thought till then.
Jamie नहीं बिठाएगा तुमने कोई?
Jamie, pull that up. Jamie.
देख रहे हो बैठ के?
आहद तुम क्या कह रहे थे?
मैं ये बोल रहा था कि यार it's just going to be, if it's, I don't know if it's being offered, if it's just being offered, then in some cases if it's well designed it could be a good thing, but if it's compulsory,
why would that be a course, right? It's already offered, right?
It's also
mandatory.
If it's compulsory,
it says mandatory. Hashim,
it's going to be shit show क्योंकि आप कौन सी translation पढ़ाओगे?
The Punjab government has made it mandatory for universities to teach students the Holy Quran with translation according to a notification issued by the provincial government on Sunday.
तो ये हो जाएगा ना जिसमें आपका इस्लामिक
that the student will not be awarded a degree if he or she does not.
जैसे आपका पाक स्टडीज और इस्लामियात है उसके बगैर आपको डिग्री नहीं मिलेगी, तो अब ये हो जाएगा.
Start offering a new course then.
Sorry?
I'm going to start offering a new course then.
वो teach करते हैं. I honestly want to teach this. I actually think
it's so interesting कि ज़ियाउल हक ने पाक स्टडीज और इस्लामियत वाली लॉ लाया था और अब पीटीआई गवर्नमेंट ये लॉ लेकर आया है, तो पैरेलल्स खुद सारे ड्रॉ कर लें. बट आज हाँ, व्हाई यू सेइंग इट्स डिजास्टर्स?
It could be disastrous because obviously whoever the instructor is, वो अपने हिसाब से उसकी ट्रांसलेशन को पढ़ाएंगे, जो भी करेंगे. एक तो इंडोक्ट्रिनेशन अलग हो रही है, but just the amount is going to be problematic because you have so many sects, you have so many fiqhs. सबकी, you can't enforce a particular reading of a holy text and
तो
dictate your religiosity.
ना करें, अलग अलग करें, इसमें क्या मसला है?
क्या
अलग
मतलब
अलग करते, you have your option.
अलग अलग क्यों करें?
क्यों मतलब क्या?
और
अगर एक
किस तरह से
यूनिवर्सिटी
करेगा? लम्स है तो उसके अंदर if you have, can you have like 50 teachers teaching 50 different interpretations? I mean the interpretation is different.
they're
It's
probably
practically
not
impossible,
50
right?
though, right?
नहीं, मगर 5 की भी बात करो, अगर आप मुझे बता दो कि चलो मैं ये सूफी इंटरप्रिटेशन है आपकी, देवबंदी है,
नहीं है
बरेली
ना,
है,
they'll
शिया है,
probably be शिया सुन्नी, दो मेजर हैं.
नहीं तो उसके अलावा भी आपके कितने बीच में वो हैं. अच्छा, even if you somehow practically manage to do that, उसके बाद भी religion is something personal, right? कि you should be able to read a text and according to your own experience relate to it. If somebody is awarding you mark on कि अच्छा भाई मैं ये ट्रांसलेशन ये है, इसका मतलब ये है, और मल्टीपल चॉइस क्वेश्चन में एक ही सही आंसर है. If it's fixed, if the interpretation is fixed and if you're not allowing any room for disagreement, और उसमें तो वैसे ही वो मसला बन जाएगा कि आपने डिसएग्री कर लिया तो आपको तो कत्ल कर देंगे.
But Ahad, I think right now you're arguing not the notification but how to teach it, right? But that could apply to any course. Sociology
I
आप
think
पढ़ा रहे हो,
just add one thing. Sorry, Shehzad, go ahead, please.
हाँ तो I mean, if I'm saying okay, make sociology mandatory, you're going to be like there are hundreds of interpretations in sociology, you can't just make one. No, I mean teach it with criticality. Hashim?
हाँ, so that I agree with. I completely 100%. अगर ये कर लें, so let's say if you have
happen. I mean, realistically, that's not what's going to happen, right?
हाँ, नहीं होगा. मैं सिर्फ आहत को डिसएग्री करना चाह रहा हूँ.
अगर हो जाए तो that's perfect, right? So imagine कि मैं अगर कॉलेज में जा रहा हूँ and I'm reading in one course 20 different interpretations. At the very least, what it's going to do is it's going to allow me to think critically about it, right? कि अच्छा हाँ ये भी है, ये तो मैंने सुना ही नहीं था. और इसके
हो जाए तो
reasons
दूर की बात, ये पॉडकास्ट में सुन के मेरी सांस बंद हो गई है कि हमें को मर्डर कर देगा. Just to hear that from you.
एडिट आउट कर लेना.
जी आशिम.
यार मतलब I don't know, I think it's really like next to impossible to even imagine like a critical reading of Quran, even at a place like Lums. There are several things that we have to keep in mind. Like just a couple of days ago, this professor in Sindh was charged. He was like taken in on blasphemy. And then on top of that, like even in the best private schools in Pakistan, where O-level system is in place, we have like a very uncritical reading of the Farhanda Noor book, Islamic Studies, right? It's like we're just expected to reproduce all of that knowledge in exams. So this is what's happening in your best schools. And I guess Pakistan में तो बहुत common है लोगों का कुरान पढ़ना. I have read it. I've like read it 5 times in my life. And वो मेरे ख्याल से जिस तरह मुझे गवर्नमेंट की एक बिल्कुल हाफ हार्टेड कोई इम्प्लीमेंटेशन का प्लान नहीं है, बस एक पॉलिसी निकाल दी और थोड़ा सा अपीज कर लिया एक रिलीजियस राइट को, वो कर देंगे, थोड़ी देर चलेगी भी, लोग वैसे ही रट्टे मारते रहेंगे वही कुरान की आयतों की, तो बस सारे खुश रहेंगे. मतलब आई डोंट थिंक दैट दे एक्चुअली रियली गोइंग टू थिंक अबाउट द डिफरेंट वेज इन व्हिच दिस कैन बी डन. Because of course at the end of the day no one can deny that religion is something that deeply impacts a lot of people, right? And if we can kind of start a critical reading of the Quran, extracting, I mean, I'm not an expert on it, but extracting like whatever good it has to offer and actually kind of like really making it mainstream, I think a lot can be achieved out of it, but unfortunately wo mujhe hota hua nazar nahi aata.
But honestly Ahad, what you're arguing, that's a better argument against Islamiyat being mandatory as opposed to this. Because उसमें तो ज़्यादा डिस्कशन होता है, उसमें तो लिटरली आपका टॉपिक होगा जो भी औरतों को किस तरह जिंदा रहना चाहिए और टीचर आके अपना ओपिनियन दे देगा. उससे I would say it's a better option. Not to say it's something that should be done or not, but it's probably a better option than Islamiyat कि जी literally आप टेक्स्ट ही पढ़ लो, as opposed to Islamiyat जिसमें टीचर अपने ओपिनियन as religion पेश करेगा?
आई थिंक नहीं, वो उसमें भी ओपिनियन तो उतना ही आएगा अगर आप कोई आयत को ले रहे हो, लेट्स से कि अगर आई डोंट नो, मैंने जो वो हमें लाजमी वो एक कोर्स दिया था उसमें द आयत रिलेटिंग टू वाइफ बीटिंग, राइट? If a person is, it depends on how you interpret it. So if someone's teaching the translation, so there's not, I don't think practically there will be a lot of room for personal interpretation. वो उसी indoctrination के साथ पढ़ाया जाएगा कि नहीं इसका तो मतलब ये है, और उससे ज़्यादा काफी that could at that age turn ugly, right? कि ये देखो कुरान में लिखी हुई है चीज़, और साथ में जो आपके आसपास लोग हैं वो क्या कर रहे हैं, अब बताओ ये मुसलमान हैं, इनके साथ क्या करना चाहिए? And at the university level it could get political too. So that's why I'm a bit, वो पहले अगर आप grade 6 grade 8 में कर रहे हो तो इतना मसला नहीं होता. At that age when you're actually developing, you're thinking about your belief system and everything critically, उस वक्त अगर आपको कोई आप impressionable भी होते हो obviously, अगर किसी instructor that you look up to teaches you that in a certain way, so it could become, इसके जो हाशिम जो बात कह रहा था ना, अगर हम सिर्फ यही कर लें कि यार चलो ज़्यादा डिटेल में नहीं जाते, हम सिर्फ 5 स्कॉलर्स उठा लेते हैं who disagree with each other और उनकी इंटरप्रिटेशन आपको दिखा देते हैं इसमें और फॉर द सेम आयत. इफ यू कैन जस्ट डू दैट, दैट वुड बी अमेजिंग, राइट? अगर आप इकबाल का बता दो कि भाई इकबाल तो मानता ही नहीं है कि जहन्नम और जन्नत कोई फिजिकल चीज़ें हैं कि नहीं है, फिर whatever you bring in your current mainstream scholars as well, Mufti Taqi Usmani को लेकर आ जाओ, then you have Javed Hamdi, who's not mainstream but still brings another opinion. If you have 3-4 scholars having a different perspective, it will at least allow students to make up their mind. But we all know कि PTI ये इसलिए नहीं कर रही ताकि ये critical thinking build की जाए और इस तरह से appease नहीं किया जाएगा लोगों को जिनके लिए ये किया जा रहा है policy.
This is really, I mean, the idea about multiple interpretations of it, I think it's interesting, but at the same time, I'm also thinking about the possibility of like a inherent clash, right? Because just what I gathered from my O-level Islamiyat, there was like a movement in Islam where one of the caliphs deputed like, a force to kind of go to different parts of the Islamic empire, the caliphate, and destroy all different translations, copies of, the Quran, because they wanted like one mainstream version to be used by everyone. So I'm not sure if this idea sits well with people who are proposing this policy. But at the same time, personally, I'm quite fascinated and amused by some of the feminist interpretations of Quran as well. I know that there's lots of like really cool work that is being done, and even at LUMS as well. Like I've seen this trend, which is again very amusing, in lots of my female students who, when they go for the research project, they want to look at the possibility of reconciling feminism with Islam, and a lot of the research kind of does make them conclude that it is very possible. It's just that we need to have new and fresh interpretations of it. Again, depends on how this new policy is going to be used based on the evidence and based on the experience that we have in Pakistan. It's kind of obvious and inevitable that will be done uncritically, but I guess it does present us with an opportunity that can be used.
सिर्फ हाशिम जरा इमेजिन करो कि तुम पढ़ा रहे हो ये कोर्स, ठीक है? अब तुम अपनी फेमिनिस्ट इंटरप्रिटेशन लेकर आए और 50 स्टूडेंट्स बैठे हैं, किसी 4 का भी दिमाग घूम गया, क्या होना है तुम्हारे साथ उसके बाद?
जब हाशिम अरेस्ट होगा ना, मैं नहीं करूंगा प्रोटेस्ट.
Practically तो we know कि there's no way कि this can happen. Maybe in like LUMS वगैरह IBM में हम शायद सोच सकते हैं, but not really. If you talk about mainstream universities, we all know what's going to happen.
Because that's the point of bringing this discussion together is कि जो हम misallocation और logistical क्या मसले हैं उसमें पढ़ते रहें, कोशिश करते रहें, बट मुझे नहीं लगता वो unintentional है. ये जो education as indoctrination है, ये policy है और ये colonial hangover से रहती है हमारी. So
अभी मैं वही देख रहा था,
all a part of it, right?
I was watching your podcast with Sir Farooq Khan. तो उसने भी वही यही बात कि education is political. I mean, it's not just political. जो even the education that we teach in high-end schools, that's also political. So we have to view education as a political tool.
ये बहुत important question है कि even schools as well, despite, of course, I work in school, Ahad works in a school as well. I think schools also, मेरी आंखों के सामने theory में तो है ही, but I've seen it like them reinforcing some of the structural inequalities that exist in society, and not just because just by the virtue of existing, but also the kind of things that are said in school. School cultures also tend to reinforce them as well. So बिल्कुल सर फरूक always on point, सही कहते हैं.
हमने कैम्ब्रिज को अपने लाइन पे ले आए हैं just because कैम्ब्रिज makes money from it. उनको हमने बोला है कि आप हिस्ट्री में ये लिखेंगे. So कैम्ब्रिज की पार्क स्टडीज is हमारी पार्क स्टडीज. That's not what Cambridge thinks history is.
Yeah.
It's what the state of Pakistan wants them to make the students of Pakistan think what history is, and Cambridge wants to make money.
Yeah. उनको क्या फर्क पड़ेगा?
हम इतने jingoistic, हमारे one thing that sells in Pakistan is jingoism, and just the idea that there's this imaginary, I mean not so imaginary anymore these days because India भी कोई कसर नहीं छोड़ा, but generally on both sides like एक jingoistic narrative जो instill किया जाता है. How will our students ever learn that war is something that should be avoided at all costs, the human cost of it, the economic cost of it, if every single text that we have ever given to them kind of glorifies like wars and kind of like is filled with historical falsities as well. और I guess उसी के अंदर मतलब एक cliched बात है, लेकिन again this is something that I think about कि कितना different nations इसको differently treat करती हैं. We've got examples of like European countries who really treat it as a matter of grief, as a matter of tragedy, as a matter of great regret. So I think ये criticality होती है आपके एजुकेशन में, जो कि I'm not saying कि आप सिर्फ उनको यही बताने लग जाओ कि war was the worst thing that ever happened to us. At least give them the other perspective. That's what they deserve. That's what they're in a school for, not for them to kind of be like empty vessels जिस पे education और सारा knowledge deposit किया जा रहा है, and once again they have to reproduce it. They should just be given that information, and then for them to kind of make use of their skills to make their own decisions or conclusions.
काफी हम लोगों ने बातें कर ली दुनिया भर की. I just since it's been brought up, yes, education बेहतर हो, इस तरह से हो, school बने, but it's also the type of education, right? कि criticality तो हम सिखाते ही नहीं है. Critical thinking हमने सिखाने की कोशिश की थी और कितनी गालियाँ even from a place which you would think would value critical thinking, and even if the place does, the students are just like, इसमें आप बताएं हमें A grade कैसे आएगा. They're not really interested. So critical thinking तो किसी भी level पे, university हो, schools हो, पैसा हो, it's not valued as a thing.
Not valued. Value सिर्फ ये, I think, which we can have a consensus on is if whatever you're teaching students, skills, अगर आप सिखाते हो उनकी employability होगी कि नहीं, I think that's the only segment of education that everyone would agree on. बाकी अगर आप जैसे हम रिलीजन की बात कर रहे थे, क्रिटिकलिटी की कर लो, या तो उसकी वैल्यू नहीं है, या तो just so divided कि is this even important or not, कि आप consensus ला नहीं सकते उसमें. और criticality is unfortunately जो लोग importance को नहीं समझते, it is perhaps the most important skill, especially in the 21st century, where your knowledge जो आप रट्टे लगा रहे हो वो तो knowledge evolves, but that skill remains with you for life. And if you can just teach that skill कि अच्छा आपने इसको, तो you're just, it's the job's done. But we need advocacy, we need people speaking out and examples के साथ समझाएं कि भाई ये क्यों important है. So yeah,
I mean, just I guess इसके अंदर भी even again public schools की तो conversation comes like of course there's a 2-track system बना हुआ है, one is continuously improving, the other is not. But even in private schools as well, I was just wondering that if schools, for instance, जो आपके middle school या फिर आपके senior school के school heads हैं, if they just start getting the report from Program for International Student Assessment, जो PISA की report होती है for 15 years old, I think even that will be alarming for them, because there as well, they're not testing how much knowledge kids have. They're testing what do kids do with the knowledge that they have. Can they apply it in like real life challenges or not, right? So Pakistan,
Cambridge के A grades में हम top 2 में आते हैं हर साल, most A grades.
जो हाशिम ने बात की बहुत important है. So just clarify that कि जो साइंस का एग्जाम होता है पीसा में, तो ये नहीं पूछते कि भाई ये अब कितने planets हैं अर्थ के अराउंड और ये periodic table
बिना
आप
के
बताएं.
14 पॉइंट्स बताएं आप डायरेक्ट.
They'll give you a scenario and they'll give a simulation कि अच्छा ये आपके पास conditions हैं. Now you run an experiment on the computer कि ये runner है, आप इसको different speeds पे test करें, and you then develop a hypothesis and test it. That's the actual science test for 50 countries or Shanghai or Finland की हम rankings देख रहे होते हैं कि top पे कौन है. This is what they're tested on. यहाँ पर आप बच्चों को रटवा नहीं सक रहे हो कि यहाँ पर force क्या होती है और levers or tools.
I am convinced in most schools in Pakistan, Pluto is still a planet. I think बच्चों को अब तक सिखाते होंगे. I am convinced.
I mean, Shahzad, schools to dur ki baat hai yaar. Once again, even our competitive service like exam, even that also kind of where we're choosing our top like cream people who are going to administer policies. Not in all exams, but in some exams, even they're also just testing knowledge. Ke blood ka flow kitna hai, and when was this country liberated, and what was that, right? So I guess they really need to do away with all of that.
CSS एग्जाम भी तो वही है आपका.
It's just आप लिख लो दो पेज अगर आप आंसर लिख लो आपका A grade है. Even look at what we value, right? अगर हम बोलते हैं कि जिस greatest scholar of subcontinent Dr. Zakir Naik, what's his talent? ADS. Good question, brother. It's written in Bhagavad Gita, book number 7, page number 7. On page number 7, there's a pan ka thuk on line number 7, and the second word of the letter. क्या ये skill नहीं है?
Yeah, but for Zakir Naik, though, this is like an entire rhetorical phenomenon, right? Like, uska to, I don't think
do place a value on memorization, na? Rote learning पे हमें rote learning as knowledge.
Yeah,
I mean, ये हमारी एक perception है.
उसका rhetorical उसके context में देखूंगा कि यार ये चीजें मतलब like these are moments that people have. They got stunned by the fact that someone knows like all these finer details and
और सब गलत होती हैं. Go on YouTube and people, one person is just like मैंने जा की खोली कि आयत number 7, book number 7 नहीं है ये.
जेमी को बोलना लगाए जरा YouTube की वीडियो साइड में यहाँ पे.
ये तो मैं भी कर लूँ. Do you guys know Ken Robinson's theory in his second book, line number 37? He says education is a resource, not a prison. क्या मेरे बाप का क्या जाता है? मैं कोई खोले ना खोले. So yeah, I mean, if he's just pulling them out of class.
We haven't caught up with the times कि अब आपके पास फोन है, कंप्यूटर है, जितना डेटा है आप उस पे स्टोर करके एक्सेस कर सकते हो. And to some extent how we assess students without कि अच्छा आपने याद करनी है चीजें और उस पे reproduce करनी है is also the incorrect way of assessing, right? And assessments inform education. If you assess students for skill, और पता है तो यहाँ पर कि कैम्ब्रिज सिस्टम हो गया, कोई और सिस्टम हो जाए, एम यही है कि ए लेकर आना है. तो अगर आप असेसमेंट ही ऐसे बनाओगे पीसा वाले जहाँ पर आप टेस्ट कर रहे हो कि can you develop an experiment, can you generate hypothesis, can you test those hypotheses in science, then that's what teachers will have to teach if students need to get A's, right? So changing those assessments, changing those benchmarks कि आप open book test करें और skill based tests करें जहाँ पर बच्चे ने जो भी real world में practical application करनी है, that needs to be part of your assessment and testing system if you want to change the education.
Hashim,
I guess this is where I'm going to shamelessly advertise the course that I teach in high schools. Like Shahzad, we talked about it, global perspectives,
na?
And I don't, of course, like this is my course. I have to sometimes sell it to kids so that more of them take it. Only then I get that slot in school. But honestly, like this is one course I was quite like pleasantly surprised. Exactly जो बात आहत कर रहा है कि practical application and not just I mean थोड़ा सा जो internet पे material अगर आपको इस तरह का मिलता है so the issues that they point out they're not very locally relevant. I mean I'm not saying that environmental degradation is not relevant to Pakistan but generally कुछ मैंने जो material देखा है जब when I was trying to teach my kids वो थोड़ा disappearing coral reefs or something इस तरह के ऊपर था जो कि although they are important but they won't really connect, they won't really click with our kids. Global perspectives in research, one great thing what I liked about this course was the ability for you to localize it and then फिर आप अपने local context में जो बच्चे अपनी community में problems identify करते हैं then they're asked to collaborate, communicate. There's a critical pathway that they follow and they have to propose like unique solutions to it and make a case for that solution based on evidence. And I mean I think honestly ठीक है बहुत ज़्यादा मसले हैं with our education system. There's a lot that needs to be done but personally I was quite like it was very heartening to see के चलो यार कुछ किस्म के तो avenues हैं. Maybe this can be seen as a prototype and then it can be scaled if someone can make a case for it.
Hashim, do you also work with the IB system? Is that better than Cambridge?
I think personally, I think that IB system is better designed than the Cambridge system. I also think that the Cambridge system has has got a lot to improve upon, because there was a time where you could make an argument that this is where students are really being pushed to learn conceptually. But now it's just become a matter of like rote learning marking schemes and then producing them in your exams, at least with a significant majority of the syllabus that they offer. That's the case. Uh, Again, global perspectives, media studies, arts, I think they're kind of like different. बट यार आप ये कह ही नहीं सकते इवन कैम्ब्रिज एग्जाम्स के बारे में भी आईबी सिस्टम का ये है कि यस बिकॉज ऑफ जस्ट द डाइवर्सिटी of the components, the different ways in which students are tested and what they are tested on, I think it has that edge for sure.
So ahad kuch keh rahe ho?
हाँ नहीं बस मैं यही बोल रहा हूँ कि पोर्टफोलियो टाइप अगर आप you're doing something practical, right, it's interdisciplinary, you're not memorizing anything, you're creating a portfolio yourself, and we all know okay learning happens best when you do it practically. So you're not just learning from different disciplines instead of specific subjects, you're learning how to synthesize that information. और IB system के साथ मुझे ये लगता है कि I mean I think it's much better than the Cambridge system. I have a niece who was in 3rd grade and she was telling me about her whatever she's studying in a module about dinosaurs, or so it's basically a combination of history, of evolutionary theory, of just generally adaptation. तीसरी जमात में आप ये पढ़ रहे हो आप, so I mean obviously you're understanding how the world works, but localization की जो इसने हाशिम की बात की थी, थोड़ा सा मुझे लगता है कि you may not have the capacity in Pakistan right now, the resources that would really be able to take the IB curriculum and localize it to the current context, and that connection to your local context is very important for learning to for deep learning. वरना ऊपर ऊपर से सब अब जैसे कोरल रीफ्स वगैरह कहीं और हो रहा है पढ़ लोगे आपको समझ नहीं आएगा कि आपके आसपास क्या how you won't be able to relate to that knowledge. So if we have a local version of IB कि project based हम कोई चीज़ बना दें where students are they have whatever they're learning is rooted in your daily societal life, then
observations bilkul. Yeah, I guess bilkul, I guess you have to start with something. Of course पूरा IB system नहीं है as it is emulate कर सकते, but at least इसके बारे में एक consideration तो हो भाई कि हम सिर्फ numbers और हम access और हम ये सारी चीज़ों पे focus कर रहे हैं. What's happening within those schools is also like an important question as well. मेरा मतलब I'm just thinking about this one time, मतलब I also coach kids for parliamentary debates, and of course with senior schools वो थोड़ा ज़्यादा competitive होता है. We're quite focused on tournaments and competitions and all, but this one time I got this opportunity for like 6 months to work with middle schoolers at a private school, and I knew कि मेरे ऊपर वो pressure नहीं है कि बच्चों ने किसी competition में जाके जीतना नहीं है, perform नहीं करना.
तो कम assholes होते हैं middle school के debaters as opposed to senior school के debaters.
मतलब यार it's like if I didn't have to make if I didn't have that kind of like financial responsibility the way I do, मैं हर बाकी सब commitments छोड़ के I would have just joined a middle school, and then I would have just worked with grade 6, 7, 8 kids. And the reason for that is that this is the age where kids have those kind of like they have the capacity to surf the internet, explore it, develop their opinions, but also not feel too shy in sharing those opinions as well in classroom, right? Because somewhere in grade 9, 10, 11 jaake this wave of like coolness ke zyada vocal nahi, chatty nahi hona chahiye, because that's not what boys do, that's not
basically
what
once puberty hits,
yeah, तब वो थोड़े हो जाते हैं कि यार बस थोड़ा रिजर्व होना है, ये पढ़ाई की बातें भी to wanna be considered nerdy. But जो grade 7, 6 और 8 के बच्चे होते हैं, they're very expressive, so that's why the class is a lot of like the teaching experience is very rewarding. So उस class में मैंने यही idea explore किया था कि the way like their curriculum was designed कि आपने social studies, science, maths, English ये separately करना है. It was like a 40-minute after class after 2 p.m. We would just pick like one big event in the history of the world, for instance like World War, और उसको देख के then we are exploring it from different lens and perspectives, like उसकी economics, उसकी legality, उसकी जो सारे social aspect है, उसकी बाकी जितने भी aspects हैं वो एक उसको देख के करो. So that was like I think something that schools can explore as well.
I think बस ये हमने last चीज यही नहीं बात की थी कि alternate modes of instruction and knowledge को जो हम समझते हैं rote learning से ज़्यादा, so things like debate classes, things like theater, and I agree with you. मैंने कुछ 10 साल पहले 6th 7th 8th graders को theater 2-3 महीने पढ़ाया था. And I'm not going to take credit for anything because मतलब क्या मैं 1 घंटा हफ्ते में जाता था 3 महीने के लिए. So probably a lot of other things happened in their lives which were great. But now I see those kids, अब वो 2010 में अगर 6th 7th 8th में होंगे तो आप figure out कर लें उनकी उम्र क्या है अब. And they're like rock stars, you know, जिस तरह वो पार्कलैंड के बच्चों को आप देखते हैं, you're like यही तो हमारा future है. I look at these kids and I'm like कुछ मैंने बीज सही डाले थे. Because you know जब लोग कहते हैं कि ये हमारे थिएटर पढ़ा के बच्चों को सिखा देंगे साजिश, वो सही कहते हैं. Because the things they learned from theater, whether that be empathy, whether that be criticality, whether that be embodying other people's experiences, उन्होंने तो कल परसों मैंने एक पोस्ट देखा था, उसने अपने one of them अपने स्कूल के अगले पिछले एक पूरा थ्रेड था कि हमारे स्कूल में कौन कौन टॉक्सिक और अब्यूसिव था, और they just called everybody out. और हम अभी मैंने जाकर there are a lot of lumps professors who are getting a lot of इज्जत on Twitter, तो मैंने बोला ये आप भूल गए कि 2014 में ये सारे lump sexual harassment केस में involved थे. तो मैंने अभी जाकर जरा वो एक thread भी डाला है. But we sort of didn't have that culture of calling people out, calling things out which were wrong. And you see these kids do this, pursue alternate careers. Some of them are musicians, some of them are pursuing degrees. I'm just like wow यार, अगर ये थोड़ा बहुत इनको अगर क्लास के अलावा आप थिएटर पढ़ा दें, डिबेट्स पढ़ा दें, चलिए डिबेट्स ना पढ़ाएं, डिबेट्स थोड़े स्नॉबी बना देते बच्चों को. A lot of these skills really add to who you are as a person.
No, I don't agree. Debates, Hamisha, sorry, I have to. I guess
Hashim's defending his moral. I'm just kidding, man.
Hashim debate नहीं करनी अभी.
I think I have to say this. मैं बस एक बात कहना चाहता
हूँ. Like point of interjection, I disagree with the proposition that
I don't think that's the case in every school. Like I guess बहुत ऐसे schools भी हैं, several of the beacon houses where debating societies weren't like a black hole जिसके अंदर बच्चे फंस जाते थे. It was just like another thing that they used to do. And I guess बहुत ज़्यादा diversity है private schools के अंदर भी जो हम थोड़ा
point of objection, sir. This house fundamentally believes that the assertion made by this gentleman absolutely has no standing in this house.
Hashim, वैसे what do you think about generally? I think debates are good, but मैंने कभी debates की नहीं थी स्कूल वगैरह में, मगर जितना देखा था, do you think कि पंजाबी में जब debates हो सकती हैं लाहौर में schools में, what schools encourage this?
पंजाबी में होती हैं, they're not like
and casual, like not for formal debates, like you actually have casual debates happening, and you know, in a language that you're comfortable in, instead of just trying to fundamentally object to the proposition.
That sounds like a good and ideal classroom should be like that as well, where debate is taking place at all times, right? So I guess वो तो सिर्फ classes को ज़्यादा interactive बनाने की ज़रूरत है. But fun fact is कि I've been to several tournaments in Lahore, जो कि because I used to do debates in Urdu as well. तो वो वहाँ पे पंजाबी भी debates होती थी और उसको कहते थे टाकरा.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
For more discussion on the elevation of Punjabi language, please watch the podcast with Dr. Farooq Khan. I just want to close this off. हमने बड़े मसले identify कर दिए हैं. अगर आप लोग कुछ summary में मसले और solutions देना चाहते हैं ताकि लोग इतने मायूस अफसरदा ना जाएं घर, you're like ये हमें थोड़े मसले लगते हैं. I think some we've identified के allocation बेहतर करें funds की, go schools ख़त्म करें, alternate modes of knowledge and education, criticality. कुछ और अगर आप लोगों के हैं बड़े बड़े मोटे पॉइंट्स जो हम भूल गए हैं तो प्लीज हमें आगाह करें अपने इल्म से.
I just have one small point, so I'm going to go first. This is nothing new that I'm adding. I think ये बात थोड़ी कहीं I was thinking कि कहीं वो गुम ना जाए सब बातों में. I would just reiterate कि जो online education है, the move to digital learning, we are at really like at experiencing a paradigm shift, and people shouldn't resist this change. Of course, their problems are legitimate, but isko resist na kare. This is not going anywhere. It was going to happen in 5 to 10 years time anyway, and because of this pandemic, it is happening now. So the sooner you get used to it, the sooner you make peace with it, I think you're going to benefit from it. And of course, as we move on, we will make hopefully make more progress in terms of making internet and screens accessible to more people. Yeah, so that's my big like point.
सुबह की Zoom मीटिंग से पहले अपने रात के टैब्स बंद करते हैं, because कभी नहीं पता होता क्या म्यूट हुआ है या नहीं. Also, Hashim had a great point in our last conversation about community engagement and community ownership. Yes,
what is
Hashim?
it?
You also had a great point about more parent involvement and community ownership and engagement.
Or should I repeat it? Okay,
yes,
sure.
please.
So, I mean, the other big observation that I had in my experience was just like I was thinking about the time when I used to go to school as a student, and now that I go as a teacher. I think somewhere that relationship between parents and schools has deteriorated over time, and I think that kind of association, we need to inject new life into it. We need to share more information with parents more readily. And some way, I think like they should be not exactly a part of like school governance, but at least like their involvement and their input should be really taken more regularly. And I think that's one way we can do something about the animosity that is very much there between parents and private schools at this point. And I think it's getting worse. So schools really need to rethink about and re-strategize about how they can fix that relationship.
Just to pick up from Hashim's point, I think this is the best time to actually do that, because a lot of the onus right now is on parents to be learning facilitators. Especially अभी जो भी homeschooling की initiatives चल रहे हैं कि learning packs भेज रहे हो घर या parent का phone इस्तेमाल करना है to watch, or do some school work. So parents for the first time, I think, are forced to inquire what's happening, in their child's life in terms of education, and take an interest in that. So it's a golden opportunity for both parents and schools to really form that bond and basically be invested together in the same mission, which is to educate our kids. इसके बाद जो tech वाली भी बात हाशिम ने की थी, I think it's been here. So the technology has been here, and in different parts of the world, US में the way tech is, and Finland, in places where it's already being used is just so mind blowing. और इसमें सबका फायदा है, स्टूडेंट का फायदा है, टीचर्स का फायदा है. I'll just share one small example from a visit that I had in the Boston school. कि assessments are happening on tablets, right, in schools, and that's saving, let's say अगर चौथी या पांचवी जमात की मैथ हो रही है, assessments are happening in real time, and teachers, those tests are being checked in real time, and the teachers getting that data on her tab in real time. तो वो अब ज़माना चला गया कि आप सवाल देंगे, उसके बाद फिर कॉपी सबमिट करेंगे, फिर टीचर घर जाके 2 घंटे लगाइए कॉपियाँ चेक करेगी. तो शहजाद की भी हंसी निकल रही.
PTSD दे रहे हो तुम आज मुझे.
No, so I'm mentioning this because a lot of teachers are averse कि ये क्या online करना पड़ रहा है. But if we actually think about it, there's so many opportunities to improve student outcomes, save teacher time. आप अपनी ज़िंदगी आसान कर लेंगे if you really adopt it. It's a learning curve. You'll have to invest time, but you have to get with the times. अगर हम नहीं करेंगे अभी adopt technology, then we will be left behind. So I think COVID is a catalyst for digital learning. And it's the perfect opportunity. You're forced to adopt it. So इस opportunity को अभी ले लें और just don't do general Zoom जो भी classes हैं. Try and improve the learning experience for the kids, and that will inshallah be a solution for the long run as well.
And Hashim agrees with Ahad. Thank you so much. You do, right, Hashim?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was
100% agree.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining us all the way from Harvard. झूठ बोल रहा हूँ, गुजरावाला और कराची से बात कर रहे हैं दोनों. Ahad and Hashim, thanks so much for joining, and thank you everybody for listening. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you, Shahzad.